Hey, good day, everybody. This is Dennis Wilborn. I want to welcome you to On the Radar. And today's the market update, and we're going to be taking a look at what's going on with the market indexes. I am attempting to see if I can see if... there we go. Hey, we are live. Okay. I want to thank you guys for joining. Hey, Paula, how are you doing? Hey, Phil, good to see you. I can actually see people online. I'm using a little bit less bandwidth. And so let's jump over to today's session. One, I'll just put my face up there and go, hey, how you doing today? Welcome to Bloody Thursday. Today was an absolutely ugly day in the market. But the thing about ugly days in the market are pretty cool in that they set us up for good-looking days in the near future. So one of the things we've learned over the last couple of days is that if I take off the video, it helps with the bandwidth. So with no further ado, let's jump into today's session. What are we looking at? Basically, the S&P. S&P basically fell out of bed this morning. We had a nice rally, as you can see, going into yesterday. And then today, you know, the market is acting a lot like, guess what? A market that wants to correct. And we're seeing that. Why do I say that? It was really interesting. I posted to LinkedIn this past week. And I said, you know, is a top in the market? And somebody wrote back, no, it's not. You know, the government's not going to let the market go down and all that kind of stuff. And the fact of the matter is you know, when markets top, even whatever the government does try to do, oftentimes doesn't keep the market from going into a correction. That may be what we're looking at here. We get a nice move up, as you see, off of the bounce on Monday, move up Tuesday. Looks like it was going to come up here and retest the previous highs. However, what was missing? Well, one, volume dropped a little bit. As you see here, see that's negative divergence. In other words, the TSI, the momentum, is not catching back up with what the price action is doing. And so when that happens, as what we see here, that turns out to be just a bearish squeeze on the TSI to move to the downside. Get a nice sell-off here. One of the tips that I always like to give folks when we get into a potential corrective type perspective is this: is take a measurement on your charts, measure from the high, and then start measuring down. Where do I want to go? Well, as you can see right there, down to the low of yesterday, or earlier in the week on Monday, that's only 3%. If we're going to get into a correction, I want to start marking out where's 10%. Well, 10% is way down here in this lower, matter of fact, it's probably right about there. Yeah, this lower level of support is 10%. That would be a healthy correction. And it also scare the heck out of a lot of different people. They'd be going, oh my gosh, the whole thing's going to crash. Let's leave that in place for a second. Let's bounce over to the weekly charts. See if I bounced the right way. I did bounce the right way. As you can see, that is just a pullback from here down into that past support area. Would not be surprised. What happens if we go deeper into a correction? Where might we go from there? Well, again, I can just take this up at the high and just start. Where would a bear market start? Well, we want to find out where's 20%. You can see 20% is all the way down right there. So dropping out of the bottom of this past zone, it would be taking out this low here. So about 317. And that's, about 65, 70 points off the current S&P. So that is a huge drop. Is it going to go all down there in one full day or one full week? Heavens no, it's going to zigzag its way down. We'll just be keeping an eye on it as we are starting to get some movement to the downside. Let's take a real quick look back at, there we go. So downside, initial downside target is probably down here about the 50-day moving average. Everything is still stacked to the upside. Remember that, still stacked to the upside. S&P. But as you know, I prefer trading either the NASDAQ, Qs, or IWM. The Qs our NASDAQ is looking weaker than the S&P. If you'll remember last year, the S&P basically took backseat to the Qs and to the IWM. This is looking fairly weak. We talked about this yesterday, how the price action pulled up toward, I really expected it to get up here and actually touch off of the 820. Didn't happen. It got close in the proximity, and then basically away we go to the downside. What are we looking at happening right now? As you can see the low right here? Look to your left. We are dancing with this past low here. We have gone below it on an intraday basis, which means that it has broken to a newer low on an intraday. This was a good sell-off today. Look at the selling volume that's jumped in. Sold off on Monday, but rebounded. Sold off today. What was missing from today's action? Well, a rebound. Didn't happen. So similar, we'll just take a real quick look over at the weeklies. Again, approaching a level of past support where it broke out before. Similar type situation. Where's a 10% correction on the NASDAQ? I'll just drop that down right there, right there. Just basically right below about the 305 level, 304 level is the 10% correction. And yeah, it always surprised me, and I kind of go, wow, when if I lay that in there. It happens to be the 10% correction is the top of that candlestick right there. If we throw on a Fibonacci, let's throw on a Fibonacci and see where the Fibonacci goes to. And again, I can go either from this low to this high, or from this low. This is the low preceding this past high, most significant low. Go all the way up there. And isn't that interesting how the 10% correction lines up almost perfectly with a 50% retracement. I want an alert right there at approximately the 50% retracement. Why? That's when we may look to re-trigger into a new position if, and here's a big if the TSI looks like it's going to turn back up, if we have a bullish reversal candle either on the daily or the weekly chart, and if we are at a level of support. So that's what's going on with the Qs. IWM really finally gave us, I won't say a reason to celebrate, although I do want the Russell to fall down or to move down. Let's take that out of there. Get that out of there. Although I want the Russell to, in fact, drop and continue dropping a little bit more. I would like to say, again, same. I go up here, I grab the highs. Where's my 10% correction? On this, 10% correction is just slightly below the 50, right there, about that past low at about 205. This is a very classic type move that we're seeing here on the on the Russell, in that we get a drop down. This was leg one down, rally attempt, failed rally attempt. And we'll know it's a failed rally attempt when it takes out that low right there, and then we'll anticipate breaking on down to the downside. How do we determine, and here's another tip for you, how do we determine how far it might go to the downside? Well, again, I go back to my Fibonacci's, and I grab the Fibonacci's, and this time I want to do a Fibonacci. This is called the Fibonacci extension, and I measure from the high here to the low here, back to the high up here, and this gives me a projection down to the downside of how far, if we maintain symmetry, how far price actions may fall. a perfect symmetric move would be down to 213. If we overshoot that, 1272 is the next next target down is at 209. And so I hope you're writing and jotting down these potential levels. Again, that was 100% symmetric move would be 213.22. 127, the 127 would be down at the 209 level. Those tend to be zones that will attract prices because a lot of people are watching those levels. So that's what we have going on with the Russell. I want to share one other thing with you this morning. Let me get rid of that. Remove that. One of the things, if you happen to be watching the market as it's cooking off first thing in the morning, one thing you can just take a look at, and this is one of the things that I did this morning. Here is the start of the day. We come out of the box, and I didn't get my computer actually turned on until about 5 o'clock, 5:30, and what was happening that particular time, we had a shooting star, and it was starting to drop below the 126 level. Since my daily TSI was pointed down, that was basically, it says, if you're going to trade in the direction of the TSI, which is pointed down. That meant look for a setup for a downside trade on IWM. Well, that presented itself up here. It was a very fast acting trade. But as it turned over, as you see the TSI turn over here, I wanted to know when might this move to the downside be over. Now, I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't know it was going to go back down and retest these lows here. But what I did, and I'll show you, and I will highlight that. Let me edit the property of that. And I'm going to increase the size of it. I drew in that line right there that basically paralleled the TSI at the time when I drew it. So, and then I will just basically go down to the lower reversal zone, the -42, and wherever that intersects. And again, I drew this line when price action was here. I drew the line in there. Drew a straight line paralleling the two other lines, and it showed where it crossed the lower level. That gave me a time for a potential rebound. And it just happened that, and it just doesn't happen just all the time. I mean, every time, but it does happen all the time. And that said that at 7:30 in the morning, this pattern was probably going to reach its extent or its apex. And sure enough, at 7:30 in this candlestick right here is, you can see, the 7:30 candle. Finished back off at 8 o'clock. And so by the time that finished, that was what marked primarily the low. And then we got a reversal signal off of that. Reverse back up and drop. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's really kind of interesting perspective on that. Let me get that and turn it back in. I'll get rid of that. How you can use these TSIs to project where things are going. Let's see. A couple of stocks we looked at. So on the on the Russell, on the NASDAQ, on the S&P, NASDAQ, Russell, or the NASDAQ, it looks weaker of all. Russell looks slightly better than the S&P, a little bit stronger, but it is reversing down to the downside. What am I looking at right this moment in time? Any type of a pullback back up towards the middle of that big red candle might give us an opportunity to trade it to the downside. I will not trade it right against the low there at the 215 level, but I will look towards the middle of that candlestick for either an option, or I could turn around and buy the, in this case, we would be buying the TZA. That is the inverse leverage ETF of the Russell. So that's what we got going on there. Let's see what else we can do here. Let's take a look at a couple of stocks we mentioned yesterday. One, Tesla. If you recall on Tesla, I basically said yesterday, well, if Tesla works its way all the way back up and touches these moving averages up here, I would look to trade it to the downside. Well, unfortunately, it didn't do that this morning. It broke down with, guess what? The NASDAQ. It basically gapped down to start and then proceeded to continue on down. I will look for, where, is just because Tesla's rolling over, does that mean it's a crappy stock? No, of course not. Tesla's a great company. But now I want to be just aware of where might I want to trade it. And it may work its way all the way back down to this uptrend line here. However, that may happen when it gets over here about, that could go all the way out to April 15th or April 12th. Always not a pleasant. So that's one of the ones we were looking at yesterday. And then light was another one we were looking at. Light. Light's still doing okay. As you'll notice, light is holding up. Right here at this 20-day moving correction at that level right there. Let's see what it did on a daily chart. Again, remember, we picked up light down here at the 86.50 level, and we get a little bit of a sell-off today. Now, in situations like this, I might go in and just move my stop loss to conserve my profit down to about $88, and that's fine. To be able to do that, not a problem with that. And last but not least, those of you who are following the cryptos, I really like MARA. I like it for a couple of reasons. One is it's got great weekly options, and it's not as hard to get filled with it. But I like it also because look what's going on here. It is in a classic fail mode. Now, when I say sell-off mode would be a better terminology on this, and it's dropping to the downside. It's got some support down here at the 26-21 level, but this is a huge move. And so I'm looking for it to find footing and a foundation to move off of. Just look at this last move from when it broke out here, from there to there, 92%. And I'm watching this for our premium and our premium members of active trend trading. And so when I get basically a signal to the upside, guys, we're going to be jumping on this really, really quickly. Because even like this move here from this low here up to that high, that's 44%. I mean, these kind of entities, you don't want to be trading them all the time. However, it's not bad to have some exposure to them. And so we can either do that through, and MARA provided, I think, the most, they're very high implied volatilities, but a good potential for doing the option trades on it. And plus, again, if we can get a reversal signal and we get basically all the clues converging, we want to jump on that. Because if you look at it from this low over here, let's see, let me go over here and roll this over one more. From that pullback to that low at $15, it ran up. Let me go ahead and just grab this. It ran up to where? It ran up from that about $17 up to there. That's 178%. So those kind of moves and those kind of opportunities don't come around very often, and so we're watching it so we can take advantage of that. So that's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for joining us. Since I can see what you're, if you do have a stock you want me to take a look at, just type in the ticker, and I can do that really quick. And if not, I'll let you know this recording will be up on Instagram TV a little bit later this afternoon. I did finish the recording that's going up to YouTube on how to use the Thinkorswim on-demand simulator for practice trading, and I think it's a really good video And that'll be also up a little bit later today. So Phil, Paula, good to see you guys. Aloha, and God bless everybody.